Good morning, friends. This is the voice of renewal. This morning, I would like to take your attention to the letter written by Apostle Paul to the church in Ephesus. The book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 13. Verse 13 says, "Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the days of evil, and having done all to stand." Having done all to stand. This morning, as you know that we are going through a very hard time. The time that we are living is not an easy time. A lot of evil, and is a time that we can call maybe one of the most difficult time of the world history. But let me tell you, in the midst of all the difficulties and struggle, when our faith is being challenged, questioned, and sometimes we are persecuted, and we are suppressed and oppressed by the enemies of the gospel, we have a message from the scripture, as Apostle Paul said. We need to put on all the armor of God to make a stand for Christ in these evil days. I remember a story which I read recently regarding a man, a great man of God who lived long ago. It said that deadly time preached at a Philadelphia rally in 1858 on March 30th. As he was looking over the crowd, he challenged them and he said, "I would rather my right arm amputated than I should come short of my duty of delivering God's message." Was so strong in his message, and that very day, thousands and over 1,000 men got saved and converted to Christ. But just 2 weeks later, one day asked, deadly visiting one of the countryside farm and watching a corn thresher. The story says his sleeves got caught up in the thresher and it was torn from his arm or shoulder. My friends, later, as the story goes, he was about to die. On the dying bed, he said to his father, "Father, stand up for Christ. Please tell brothers of our ministry to make a stand for Christ." My dear friends, this is exactly what we ought to be doing in this time and period when we are going through this challenging time. I know this is a Christmas time, but many families, they have lost their job because of COVID-19. They lost their dear ones. Many families are going through hard time. Many of you, listen to me, are going through a time of sadness, brokenness, and in places like India and many other places, faith is being challenged. Of course, there are places in the world people cannot preach. People cannot even worship openly. Recently, I heard of a place in our nation, in India, in Uttar Pradesh. The church was being visited by policemen, harassing the church members, questioning the pastors, taking the Bible away, threatening them. It's happening even in India, in a remote village of our part of the world. My dear friends, time is so challenging. It's hard for anyone to make a stand for Christ. But let me tell you, making a stand for Christ is costly. It costs you. That's exactly what happened with the men and women of faith in the past. But I would also love to mention about another man who was at the funeral of the deadly. And let me tell you, his name is George Dudfield, a fellow pastor. who worked with the deadly. He was deeply stirred at Deadly's funeral. The following Sunday, he preached on the Ephesians chapter 6 about the standing up for Christ. And also he read a hymn which was written by him, inspired by words of Deadly. What was that? The song, he said, stand up, you soldiers of Christ, stand up for the cross. The soldiers of cross. My dear friends, this was an inspiring song or hymn which is sung by millions of people even today. We sing that hymn, stand up for Jesus, you soldiers of the cross. Just because one man was stirred by the inspiration of somebody else who challenged. My dear friends, let us make a stand for Christ. Be a challenge, be a blessing for somebody in the time of Christmas. Even in the midst of your hardship, even the trouble, even the pain and the suffering that you're going through. Let me assure you, the message of Christmas says that Jesus has come to bless you, to strengthen you, and deliver you, and give you a hope and a future. God needs people in every era who will make a stand for Him. The times are never easy, and sometimes we may pay a price when we make a stand for Christ. But we are soldiers of the cross. Now is the time for the church to make a stand for its faith, stand for its Lord. Will you make a stand for Christ at any cost, especially in this hard time, the difficult time, painful time, and challenging time? May God bless you with another stanza from that hymn. Stand up. Stand up for Jesus. Stand in His strength alone. Not by our strength, not by our own resources or our own skill or ability,